Our closing reflections are from the President of the Liberal Democrats, the MP for North Southwark and Bermondsey, Simon Hughes MP.
John, I don't think there's ever been a greater privilege I've been offered than having the final words on this occasion. It's a tribute to Neil because so many people loved him and he loved so many people. And so many other people admired and respected him and he changed their lives. It's a tribute to his family who brought him up so wonderfully well, who've been so brave and so courageous in recent days. And we send you all our love. It's a tribute to our party which has nurtured Neil since, well, I saw him first when he was 18, and certainly since then. I looked for a word to describe him when I first saw him, and one of the words used today was hesitant. That was not the Neil he was to become. It's a tribute to this city, John, and to the Northwest that you adopted him and realised his talent, and so effectively incorporated him into the work of politics in this city and in this region. And it's a tribute to his friends, Peter, Paul and Emily and the rest, that you too show such admirable bravery and strength at times of horrendous and unexpected tragedy. Reflections are difficult to do, and like winding up a debate, I decided I wasn't going to write them all down before, because otherwise you can't reflect on what you've heard and seen. But I want to reflect on something that came out of what John Leach shared from Barack Obama. One of Barack Obama's two autobiographies is called The Audacity of Hope. Neil was both of those big words, hope and audacity. He was audacious, but he was always hopeful. I wanted to reflect on the fact that it probably wasn't the fact that he joined the Liberal Democrats because it said party only that appealed to him. It was probably because he'd heard there was something called the National Liberal Club. And he thought that might be somewhere worth exploring. It's not nearly as exciting as many of the other clubs he went to. And I have seen him dancing, but I'm just going to protect my reputation a little bit and say that I didn't go to all of them. And I haven't been to Gran Canaria. Fourthly, that we all come here, and I think we all will have learnt something extra about Neil that we didn't know. There were some things, of course, that I absolutely am known to have shared with Neil. One could be with timekeeping, and I understand always those people who are not so good in the mornings and much better later on in the day. There are lots of us like that in life. We struggle to reconcile those things. There are lots of us who, as Neil did, have to reconcile strong evangelical Christian faith with our personality and our character, and that's not easy. And there are lots of us who have to reconcile the sacred and the secular, which, if you come from a position of faith into politics, is not easy. The one thing I never knew, and I don't know whether to be happy or sad about it, is that in the middle of the night, Neil was trying to discover more about the life and times of Nigella Lawson. That really takes the biscuit. If I was looking for, as it were, a summary of Neil as he ended up as a councillor in this city and a leader and trainer of people in one of the three great political parties of Britain, I think the summary would be that Neil was a man, a politician, and a young leader for our times. He was of his time. He was entirely comfortable in the place and in the age he was part of. It was really encouraging to hear on Wednesday at that beautiful service in Swindon the pastor of the Swindon Evangelical Church say, "The church needs people like Neil just as much as the Liberal Democrats." And I say that because for those who come from faith traditions, or people of different faith traditions here, and of no faith tradition but beliefs, I have to say sometimes the faith traditions we come from need livening up a bit, and they need the Neils, just as politics needs people like Neil. I tried to share with Neil's mum and dad the other day the only consolation that one can really offer at moments like this, which is that none of the love Neil ever gave can be taken away. None of the love people gave him can be taken away. None of the memories we have can be taken away. They all remain. And we hang on to those, I hope, in the knowledge that here, by sharing that love, we share the grief. And in some way it helps us each day go on with the rest of our lives. John, I just want to say a couple more things. Neil, in his 15 years or so in public life, contributed to an incredible development of the party he chose to belong to. The party in his time has been transformed in size, in number, in reach and in influence, and many of us here are his party friends, and his family need to know that there are other people who would have been here but can't be here. So there are other people who would have been here. That is such are the numbers of people who want to appreciate and show that. And I just want us to reflect, as well as on the personal Neil, to reflect on the fact that he will have played in his short life a hugely important part in transforming the politics, not just of this part of Britain, but of Britain. And by that I don't just mean in advancing the Liberal Democrats. I mean in advancing liberal democracy, which is a wider thing, which is about a respectful politics that, as was said earlier, treats everybody as of equal value and has a place for everybody. The second thing I want to share is, and those of you who come from a Christian tradition will know this, there is a wonderful bit of Christ's teaching, which I hope is a consolation to those of us who struggle with where we'll end up when our time comes. As part of his teaching, in answer to some questions, Jesus said, "In my house are many mansions, and if it were not so, I would have told you. And I go there to prepare a place for you. I am clear, and I know many other people in this room are clear, that it cannot be the case that Neil is no longer with us. That just can't be just or fair or honouring the promise that was given." And I hope that too is a consolation.